Hey everybody, this is Walt,
This is Max.
and you are listening to the ABCs of Rock and Metal,
We call it Anti-Seminal. We are Useless Info Inc. And today we are doing Clutch.
the Elephant Riders.
Yes. Now, Walt, what would you consider the seminal albums by Clutch?
Well, I would say the Space Record or the self-titled
Okay.
Blast Tyrant.
Blast Tyrant, of course. Okay.
Everybody liked Blast Tyrant, and
Yeah.
I think that was the highest charting Clutch record.
That makes sense.
And it was
Yeah.
in some of the songs were featured on soundtracks and what have you as well.
Exactly. That was pretty big. But today we're doing Elephant Riders, and today we have a special guest, a Clutch superfan, our friend Mark, who's come down all the way from Vermont. Mark, why don't you give us a little bit of a context about this album, like where it is situated in the Clutch canon and such?
Sure. Happy to, and thanks for having me, guys. Very happy to be here. So the Elephant Riders, I think we should back up two records to establish the context. The one immediately prior to it was the self-titled Space record that Walt mentioned already. And the one before that, which is better representative of the first phase of Clutch's career, was the Transnational Speedway League, which was their debut on a big label. I think partly having to do with the fact that there was a bidding war over the band Helmet, and I think labels thought that maybe that was the next big wave for rock, that kind of angular sound that Helmet presented. So I have a theory that Clutch being signed to East West had something to do with that. But their sound at that time was a very aggressive kind of hardcore sound where if you go to a Clutch show during that period, it's going to be some heavy moshing and a lot of angry young men. Not too many women in the crowd in those early days, truth be told. Of course, the difference being that most hardcore music identifies with an urban landscape. This was more like your rural redneck hardcore. So it already had a unique quality to it, but it was still very much kind of an alpha dog kind of music in some ways. Then the Space record turned everything on its ear. They went to a more classic kind of guitar tone, achieved the old-fashioned way of just turning amps up really loudly, and they naturally distort to a degree where they get kind of a smooth meanness about them to the sound, but not in the way that you would achieve in a more modern sense where it's real fuzzy or crunched out. So that record was all about groove. We go to outer space with them. They started getting into different time signatures other than 4/4 at that point. And so I have to admit, they really had me on the edge of my seat when Elephant Riders was about to come out. And still to date, it's the only time I've ever been in line at Tower Records in Boston at midnight on the release date so I could get my hands on it. And it really didn't disappoint. They continued the themes that they'd established on the Space record in terms of pushing the boundaries of what you could consider heavy, which is kind of dangerous to do back then with heavy music. There's sort of an unspoken set of rules that if you do anything that's perceived as not being heavy, then you can lose your fans pretty quick. They were stretching out and saying, we're going to do whatever we want to do, basically. And this time, instead of outer space, we've gone back to the Civil War era, and we visit in with a village of people making soap, and we'll get to all of that. But it's the next logical step for a band that is establishing an identity which they continued to forge and eventually ended up where we are today is just a hard rock groove machine with quirky vocals. So this was kind of still in the beginning stages of that. So what do you say? Should we listen to this thing?
First up, we have the title track, The Elephant Riders. Now, from what I understand, gentlemen, this track is based on this kind of notion of an alternate history where the Civil War was fought with war elephants and airships, right?
Right, yeah.
All I can say is I want to see that movie.
I know, exactly right.
Yeah.
And Lincoln said something like, we don't need elephants, we have steam.
No, you need elephants.
I would love to just have elephants.
No, you never say we don't need elephants, okay? Because you always need elephants.
For whatever purpose whatsoever.
Exactly, yeah.
You know.
So what do you think about this track, Walt?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it opens bombastic.
It is nice. It's a
You
good
know, it hits
opening.
you over the head, but then you get into this groove. Mm-hmm. This is a groove,
It really
which
is,
I
yeah.
really love.
Yeah.
And then you get to the chorus where Fallon just kind of belts it at you.
Yep.
there you go, you know.
Yeah,
and
nice.
then down and up, and you know, but still the groove is right underneath him.
Yeah.
The whole time. It seems like it gets heavier, but not necessarily.
Yeah,
You
not
know
really.
what I mean?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
stays groovy heavy,
yeah.
in
Groovy
my
heavy.
opinion.
I like that. Mark, what do you think about groovy heavy? Talk to us. Groovy heavy.
Groovy heavy. Well, a punishing riff in 7/8 time to start your record. That's kind of making a statement right there. And I might be reading into this a little too much, but to me, like that riff just evokes an elephant coming at you. Basically, I can see the trunk swinging, and an element of 7/8 time is the idea that like you're chopping off the last eighth note of a 4/4 measure, and the effect is like the downbeat hitting a little bit earlier than you expected, which to me it almost evokes like getting stepped on by a friggin' elephant, basically. Things coming at you a little faster than you thought, and boom, there's the downbeat. So, love the riff. This is one of my favorite Clutch songs of all time. And I love Neil Fallon's singing approach as well, in that he goes for more of a melodic thing in the verses, which also was, I think, setting the tone right from the beginning that they're still trying to stretch and expand their sound. And at the time, nobody quite, people were comparing it to Frank Zappa and stuff, and I don't think that's a totally accurate depiction, but I can see it a little bit. And for my money, any song that has the lyric, "Don't be eating all the hard tack, between we two there's half a small sack," that's worth the price of admission alone.
Blazing riff.
Yeah, again.
Yeah, and this song was originally called "Fixin' to Die" in its early form.
Well,
And then they
yeah,
changed
he's
it
got the lyric in
and it's
there.
yeah, that
Yeah.
lyric is still in there.
Right.
Yeah, this one
I
goes
didn't know.
back to kind of the redneck thing. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sitting at tin shacks and catfish bones.
Yeah, it's very like 1849 minor gold panning situation, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
What
Yeah.
else, Mark?
A lot going on musically again. This one's
Yeah.
in 4/4, but this particular drum groove here, with that open hi-hat on the upbeats,
Right, okay.
is not your typical heavy rock kind of groove. There's a swing happening here that is was at the time when I first heard this song, they played it live, and I thought, yeah, what was that? They covered some classic rock song I'm not familiar with.
Huh.
Like, I had no idea this was a new song of theirs. I thought it was a
Okay.
cover of some
That's
sort.
what they were moving towards.
Because it sounded different from
Right.
anything before it, you know. And so
John
yeah.
Paul Gaster.
Yeah.
You know, with his swing on this, you know.
Yeah.
It moves into bluesy. It moves into jazz at points.
Yeah.
Groove.
Kind of
Heavy
funky.
groove.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They bring some
Like that could,
fun.
yeah, the guitar right now. That
Yeah.
Bam, bam. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's got a bounce to it.
Yeah.
You know, if you're crazy enough, you can dance to it.
Yeah.
You know. I mean, you might look like an idiot at a Clutch show dancing around to it, but you know, hey, you know, I'm sure Clutch would promote that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, Ship of Gold, great track.
Yeah, this one, it covers a lot of ground, and it takes you on a bit of a journey. Yeah, it's actually not my favorite on the record, but I still dig it. I dig it mostly in the context of where it is on the record.
Okay.
That's
But
the second track.
I wouldn't go right to this. Sometimes I'll put this record on and like just listen to Soap Makers or Dragonfly or something.
Right.
But I like this one in context, like if I'm listening to the whole record. the
See,
most.
for me, I can't pick out a certain track on this album. I have to listen to the whole record.
Yeah, generally I do.
For me,
just
I have to
it
listen to the
all,
whole
but,
thing.
Yeah.
I can't just skip ahead.
Yep.
I mean, if I'm on YouTube or something, and you're watching whatever clip, and it jumps to a Clutch song, say off this record,
Yeah.
then it'll just play because you know how YouTube is and what have you.
Yeah.
If I'm like cleaning the bathroom and it just jumps on, then okay, fine.
Yeah.
But if I'm putting the record on, I got to listen to it from start to finish.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Okay, next up we have 8 Times Over Miss October.
Great title.
Yeah, I thought this was about a different thing when I first heard the title. You can imagine what I thought it was about.
I
Not really.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
okay.
What'd you think?
So, you guys don't do that kind of thing that you do when you've got like a Playboy centerfold?
8 times?
Oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
I'm lucky if I hit twice.
I don't mean personally. I'm just saying
Okay, all right.
the guy in the song maybe was really enamored with a certain, centerfold
Okay.
picture. Yeah,
I
yeah.
That
kinda
makes
got-
perfect sense now that
Yeah.
you say that.
Look, you guys never thought of that?
No, I kind of got like a witch.
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
aspect
Well,
to it,
when
a
the
Wiccan-
when the
Wiccan-
lyrics, yeah,
right.
yeah. When I just heard the title though,
Right.
Just based on the I'm like, okay, all
Eight
right.
times over Miss October.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. I
All
guess
right.
I'm
No, I
going
get
one.
it.
I
All
like
right.
that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not say anything now.
I
right.
feel a little awkward sitting next to you right now.
This is one of the most confusing lyrics that when he says right here,
Yeah.
I'm denied,
I'm
my,
denied my
choice,
choice.
sieves and peas. What
Yeah.
on earth does that mean? I've never
See,
figured that out.
I love the fact that he just throws shit in like that.
Yeah.
I enjoy that fact so much. His lyrics are so outrageous. He's like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know, you might not even know what I'm saying unless you read the lyrics.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when they're playing live, nobody's really listening to the lyrical content. You're looking at the performance and hearing the performance.
Yeah.
So you can get up there sometimes and just spout gibberish. And I think Fallon does that with tongue-in-cheek every single time, every chance he gets.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
yeah.
I love about
Yeah,
him
he does.
as a vocalist.
He does. I've heard him in interviews say that he likes to just make stuff up. It's his chance. Like he said, it's the only time in life when I can just lie.
Yeah, right.
Openly because it's fiction. So he,
Yeah.
instead of, some people look towards their own experiences in life as fodder for songs. He just likes to let his imagination run wild with weird things, and it is some kind of witch or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Some
this one
witch
has,
centerfold.
And
I
there's
think
more
we've decided,
gold
right?
panning going on too.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
So
it's like-
there is
yeah,
a
yeah.
concept,
There's
and
something-
that's something that's great about it. It is a concept record, basically.
Right.
You know, there is that
For a
running
few
thread.
songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think this was the last record where it was more conceptual, right? Because Transnational, Space Record, and now the Elephant Riders.
Yeah.
After that, I think they moved on from concept and just kind of made rock records.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And this one, just another quick thought about 8 times over Miss October. Again, strange timing. It's the main part of the riff is in 5/4, so you're counting to 5 instead of 4. And then right after the first lyric and before the verse kicks in, there's a pause. And I counted it out the other day. They do a measure of 4/4 followed by a measure of 11/8. It's like, how long did it take the band to sit there and say, okay, now you go da 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 dun dun 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 dun dun, and they all
Right.
land. You know, it's like there's some crafting going on here. You know, and
Either that or it's called weed. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, it just might be.
Hey, it worked. Cool. Let's keep doing that. Hey,
Yeah,
puff,
it's-
give.
I feel like they're intentionally trying to trick you into not knowing where the 1 is, because that's what 7/8 is. You're
Right.
flopping off that last eighth note,
Right.
so it comes early. And this time they're like, they don't know when we're going to hit, and then boom, you just land on
Once
this. Yeah.
again.
Or the-
Yeah. What's that break part? At the side of the road. What was he sing there?
A bundle of twine.
Bundle of twine.
Yeah,
right.
right. We'll be
I
running
found
to-
a love
Yeah.
that would burn her till the end of
Yeah,
time.
we'll be running
Something like
till
that.
the end of time.
We'll be running till a bundle of twine, man. Neil Fallon likes twine.
Yes.
Excellent, man.
Right. Next up, we have the Soap Makers. Talk to me, Mark.
Oh, here it is. This is one of Clutch's all-time master strokes in my mind. I feel like it is the ultimate realization of Neil Fallon's lyric writing, in the sense that he's conjured up this village of toothless men whose economy is dependent on the making of soap.
Not
Yeah.
toothpaste.
Not toothpaste, but soap. Yeah, I know, exactly. And so they're all cajoling around, dancing around 2s and 4s,
Yeah.
making soap in this big town-wide ceremony, which to me draws on a greater concept of what I believe is part of the genius of Clutch, is they want to express heavy in as many weird ways as
As
possible.
possible.
Yeah.
And again, you
yeah.
don't have, like, most bands, when they think heavy, they want to write songs about, like, you don't beat your woman or I'll kill you. All these,
Death
like,
and-
yeah, just tough guy stuff. This is so fucking heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
But
Yeah.
he's telling a story.
Right.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing about it, if you're a fan, you listen to the lyrics.
Yeah.
If you go to a show, everybody can get off on the song when they're playing it, or you can get off on it when you hear it.
Yeah.
But when you delve deeper and listen to the lyrics, you're like, whoa, he's really telling a story. And he's a master at this.
Yes,
He's one of the
absolutely.
masters of telling a story
Yeah.
when it comes to his lyrical content.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this whole second part,
And each one was all. It's like they all meld together and became one entity.
Yeah, I know. It gets trippy.
Right.
So what is the story there?
We don't entirely know.
Okay, yeah.
But
For the second
it,
part?
it
or-
sounds like a witch's Sabbath or something.
like they're
Yeah.
standing around a cauldron.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
and
always
it's
wonder,
the sacred ritual. I think they all become
I always wondered,
one.
like, what is the
That's a
soap made
Clive
out of?
Barker shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Books of Blood.
Actually,
there's
the-
something-
The
yeah.
soap is people. I think we can.
Of course,
agree
the
on
soap-
that now.
It's like
Why are we
Soylent
going
Green.
back to Soylent Green
The
again?
soap is people.
That
yeah,
is our
obviously.
defining thing with,
Yeah.
with every podcast.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
always
yeah,
go back
yeah.
to Soylent fucking Green.
That's a crossover, actually. That's
I
another
know, right?
podcast. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
check out our
Yeah, right. Take the opportunity.
Dystopian Cinema podcast.
Yeah. Click the link
Featuring
below.
Soylent Green.
The future sucks. Check it
Yeah,
out.
I just have to say, when
Yeah.
this song first came out and I asked a toothless man who all these people were in. They said the soap makers and We Are Working.
Yeah.
I was laughing my ass off.
Right.
It's like, what are these guys doing?
You were
I love
laughing.
it.
I was scared shitless. I'm like, what is this? Yeah, it's good. Yeah, more Walt?
On this song, no.
Okay. Next track, The Yeti. What's going on here?
Adventurous musical track with all the twists
Okay.
and turns of the riffs. This one is almost
Okay.
like a progressive rock song in some ways. The way, like, one
But for
thing
me-
to the next.
This
Okay.
felt more like the previous album. This kind of brought me back to
Yeah, the
the space
self-titled,
record a little
yeah.
bit, you know?
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah. Just it sounded so familiar for me on first listen, and still does, to be
Yeah.
honest. I mean, he's talking about a Yeti. Come on.
I know.
Come on. That's all kinds of awesome.
Yeah.
The next song he's got to write is about a Sasquatch. you know?
Loch Ness Monster next. It
Right.
sounds like it's like an author kind of fantasizing about being in the Himalayas or something. Is what I
Yeah.
got out of it.
Yeah.
lyrically.
Right.
Yeah, there's some. Yeah.
So you taking it more as Fallon saying,
I-
more fantasizing about
I-
being there and meeting a Yeti?
No, it sounds like he's speaking the voice of a 19th century author
Okay.
who's writing about being in it all
in
sort
the
of
Himalayas.
all these songs, at least the initial ones, sound very 19th century to me.
Okay,
like
yeah,
we're
well-
the we're the kind of placed in time,
Right.
You know, and just something about I don't know the phrasing, the way he puts the words together. It just sounds very kind of Victorian romantic era to me.
Okay,
In a cool
yeah,
way. I
yeah.
like that. I like the fact that he challenged himself lyrically.
Well, I think that's the theme of the record, period. It kind
Yeah.
of feels like they're going for a
Yeah.
timepiece
Yeah.
concept. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, you have Civil War, you have, where you're talking about authors from, the 19th century. I think they were going for that.
Yeah, and the artwork certainly reflects
Represents,
that whole vibe
yeah.
too. And that's another thing where I feel like they had balls as a heavy band to come out dressed up like Civil War people. Like,
Right.
It's corny by a lot of people's standards. I just think they had a lot of balls to come out and say, we're just going to do whatever we want. We're going to redefine what heavy means in our own.
Right.
This is our take on what heavy is.
But that's what makes you, for me, that's what makes me a fan of a band.
Yeah.
That you're willing to take chances and you move and you hope your audience moves with you with every album that you put out. And I think Clutch has done that. I'm a lifelong fan.
Yeah.
From
Absolutely.
the first record till now.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a fucking Clutch t-shirt for Christ's sake.
Yep.
So,
He is. I can attest to that.
A few bumps along the road, in
Right,
the middle
right.
period, but still, all of those records have some good tunes on them.
Yeah, which
Right.
ones you feel were bumpy?
The less, Robot Hive, Exodus,
Mm-hmm.
and Strange Cousins from the West, and From Beale Street to Oblivion. Those three I'm less enamored
Okay.
with.
Which one came after this one?
After this one, they did Jam Room, and then
Okay.
they did Pure Rock Fury. And
Okay.
actually, Pure Rock Fury has some questionable moments on it.
It does,
too.
yeah. It does.
Like Frankenstein.
Yeah,
and,
oh,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah.
But
And not to diss Clutch, please. If you guys are listening, we still
Yeah,
love it,
yeah,
and we
yeah.
own the records,
Yeah.
and we ran out and bought them.
yeah. And hey, we're all artistic people. You go for something and land sometimes, and other times it doesn't.
You got to respect them
Yeah.
for doing it,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You're just going with it. So
I honestly think if they took those three records that you mentioned
Yeah.
and made one record,
You'd have a
it'd be
good-
a kick-ass record.
Yeah.
And that's what
Okay.
you wind up doing if you're a Clutch fan. If you want to make your own Clutch CD,
Yeah.
you kind of go for those odd tracks and put them together. Kind of like their rarities. Some of the rarities and the B-sides that they put out were better than Pure Rock Fury.
they're killer. Yeah, absolutely. When they were touring this record, they were playing new material, and I was so psyched. One of the songs was on that Rarities record called Easy Breeze. I remember seeing them play that live, and I was just thinking, these guys can do no wrong.
Yeah, right.
So when Pure Rock Fury came out, I was a little disappointed. Like, where's Easy Breeze? It's not even on there. It came out later on that, and that also had Slow Hold to China,
Right.
which is what the record was originally called.
Right.
Pure Rock Fury, and that didn't get on there either, and that's a kick-ass song.
It
so I
is,
feel
yeah.
like maybe a record label led them astray, 'cause it's got that rap experiment. Not to get too off topic.
Yeah.
Were they still on Columbia with Pure Rock Theory, or were they?
They got passed to, I think it was on a different one at that point. They got passed on to another
Atlantic or
conglomerate, maybe
something, or-
Atlantic or something.
I can't
They were
remember.
on Atlantic for the self-titled,
Okay.
and then it was Columbia, and then Sony maybe.
Ah.
It was some, but they were just getting passed around, and
Right.
after that is the point when they said no more record labels. We're going to do this on our own. That's when they really,
Weathermaker.
yeah, they got creative control.
Which was great. I mean,
Yeah.
those really. I mean, I love Jam Room,
Yeah, oh
and I'm so surprised that that wasn't a release. That they released it
yeah,
on their
yeah.
own, and the casual Clutch fan goes to Jam Room for whatever reason. They don't go to this record. They don't go to the Space record. They don't go to Blast Tyrant. But the casual fan, you play Jam Room for whatever reason, they love Jam Room. In my experience,
Yeah,
which is wild.
I love that record too.
Right, moving on.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Next up, Muchas Veces.
Oh my, one of my favorites.
Yeah, tell me why.
Just cause.
Yeah,
He's
This is good,
kind
yeah.
of speaking Spanish in it, you know, in his broken Maryland way. And it starts off, went to the Five and Dime.
yeah.
Can you find a
It's-
Five
it's
and Dime
dime.
anymore? Right, Five and Dime. Right.
I know another story happening
big
here, too.
story.
And basically the closest thing Clutch has done to a love song. He's like
Right.
following this woman down to the mountains of Peru.
He saw
you
her
know?
face on the copy of Time.
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the copy of Time.
Hey. Again, you're left
Damn.
wondering, like, this isn't a real story here. What is this?
But I'm on the ride with him.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, the whole way. You know, I love it. I love the
Yeah.
lyrics. Like I said, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end lyrically, and the band really backs him with all of his bullshit talk
Yeah, yeah.
during the song. You know.
Yeah. You know
Now,
what?
I can
oh,
imagine.
sorry.
I'm sorry, Mark.
No, go ahead.
I can imagine when he first broke out the lyrics, they were like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, yeah.
You know. I'm sure the guys finally said, "You know what? He's just doing his thing. I don't know what he's talking about. Let him do it, though. He's
Yeah.
up there and delivering." So
This particular tune, I believe, is one of the few that came from the original sessions that they recorded this record. They recorded the whole record with Larry Packer, who is like some dude who's a friend of theirs from Maryland who had worked with them a lot.
right.
And the record company heard it and was like, "No, we're not taking that." And they got Jack Douglas, who had produced
Yeah.
Aerosmith and stuff in the
Who.
'70s, and some other
Blue
folks.
Oyster Cult.
They get this producer in and they recut the entire record. I'm pretty sure this one was from those original sessions because the mix is weird. I feel like you can't even hear the guitars that much. Like the bass is right there.
Right,
but
right.
There's not that mid-range full of guitars. So
Okay.
I feel like it's just a bit of an oddball in terms of the sonics of it compared to the rest of the record.
But for me, on this album, that's the reason why I like it.
Yeah.
That it sticks out like a sore thumb, and all of a sudden you're taken to a different chapter.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
So you think this one sticks out?
yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
In what we've heard so far in the 6 tracks,
Yeah.
this one is the oddball.
Okay.
It really is. Like Mark was saying.
Yeah, out of these first few, definitely. Yeah.
The first time I heard this album, when this came out, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then I listened to it, and I'm like, that's brave and that's cool. Because I dig it, you know. I just dig the song, and I love the whole him seeking out this woman that he met years ago. Now she's a terrorist and a gorilla and all. You know, it's crazy stuff. It's awesome. Then he gets buried underneath a tomb.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like Indiana Jones,
Right.
Tomb Raider kind of shit. Yeah.
When it ends, he's doing it all over again. He sees another woman that he knew on the cover of some magazine, and he goes chasing
Yeah.
after her. So it's kind of a neat little story. It's
Yeah.
very fantastical. Like you were saying, Mark,
Yeah.
you stood in line to buy this album when it
Yeah.
came out.
Yep.
For me, the same thing. I ran to the record store because before that, for me, Transnational and the self-titled, I kind of stumbled on them.
Yeah.
And found them, you know, at bargain bins or at street fairs for both of those albums, you know.
Yeah.
And remember seeing a video here and there. But for this, after those 2 albums, I went to the store and actually really bought this album.
Yeah.
You know, not
Yeah.
secondhand or what have you. But you actually stood in line at, what was it, Coconuts?
It was no, it was Tower Records in Boston. I was there at midnight. And
Midnight.
truth be told, my friend Mike got an advance copy. I had it on cassette. I was already familiar with the whole record, but I couldn't wait to get my hands on it because we didn't have the artwork or anything.
Right.
And then, of course, when you get it, there's the little sticker. Oh, this doesn't have it. The original version, I wish I brought my cover. It has a yellow sticker that says "Heavy, lift with caution."
really?
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So right when I saw that, I'm like, oh, this is great.
Wow.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah. What track whipped? Okay, Green
Next
Buckets.
tune, we got Green Buckets here. And what the hell's going on?
I know this is a weird
It's
one.
an ode to recycling.
Or is it anti-recycling? That's kind of what I got out of it.
Really?
Yeah, like he seems to see recycling as a threat. Because he wants to keep consuming and throwing stuff out. What did you think, Mark? What's your...
So he's pro compost, but anti-recycling.
I don't even... What do you think?
I
Tell me.
think the
I don't
main
know.
problem is to try and get a coherent thread from a Clutch song. It is problematic.
That okay?
that-
Already
yeah.
that proposition might be off.
I
Okay.
think that
Yeah. But
basically,
he's unsettled by the recycling bins. It seems like, right?
from what I've read about this, Neil
Yeah.
Fallon said this song was him ruminating on the suburban lifestyle of just like
Okay.
you live and what it would be like to just be a suburban schmuck, like putting out
Mm-hmm.
the trash every week. And then it's Clutch, so it goes in these weird, I got 1,000 cans of chowder and 1,000 cans
Has a
of beer,
right? He built a fallout shelter.
Yeah, he built a shelter.
Right.
And this to me is such a classic Clutch groove. Listen
Yeah.
to this
Yeah.
chorus.
yeah.
Would like to
Yeah.
love ya. Would treat you right. Yeah.
It just makes you want to stomp your foot like from as high as you can lift it.
Well, you can see him on stage already putting his hands out.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And if you ever have the opportunity to see Clutch back in the 90s, which obviously you can't because
Not
that can't
now.
happen, but
Until we invent time machines.
yeah, which we need to do because seeing this band back in the day was so entertaining.
Tell
'Cause
us.
Neil Fallon was so animated. It's funny too because Tim Salt and Dan Maines look like they're totally just standing
Just
there.
focused.
You know, you might see the bass player swaying a little bit. Watching this band live, it's all about Jean-Paul Gaster and Neil Fallon.
And Neil Fallon, yeah.
You
yeah.
watch the drummer and you're like, how is this guy so graceful for like a big dude playing heavy music?
Yeah.
He just had this light as a feather sort of grace about him. He's
Right.
really remarkable as a drummer. One of my favorites ever.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And then Neil Fallon stalks the stage like some kind of preacher. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
He'll just be going around and he'll point at people and like.
He's got such an
Yeah.
angry face, but you're down with it. You know, when he points at you, you're like,
Yes.
yeah, I want to get angry with you, man. I'm with you, Neil.
Yeah.
You know,
And they're
like
still
you
a
said,
great live band, but
Oh, they are.
just the aging process. It's a little less.
Well,
back
Neil,
in the day, it
Neil
was-
is the only one that still kind of stalks the stage.
Yeah, he still does.
He
his
still
thing.
walks around. But yeah, I saw
Yeah.
them in the 90s. Actually, they opened for Marilyn Manson.
Oh my
Oh
God,
yeah,
really?
that's
Wow.
that's the
Yeah.
only show in the '90s I didn't see them. I missed that one when it came around.
They blew Manson off the stage. Manson was at the height of his powers. You know, they did a short set. Manson did a short set. You know, I guess it's called Cocaine.
Yeah.
But Clutch was fantastic.
They had the stormtroopers.
The
on
stormtrooper
stage for
standees,
that. Yeah, I've seen
which
bootlegs
was
of that.
great, which was awesome. A lot of people were leaving during Manson's set because, like I said, I guess they were too high or whatever. But Clutch was fantastic. That was the first time I saw them live, and that was at Irving Plaza.
Okay.
Like 1990.
So did you
That
go to
was a
see Marilyn
self-titled
Manson?
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
That was a self-titled. I'm sorry, man.
Did you go to see Marilyn Manson specifically? Like, did you know about
Specifically.
Clutch at that point?
No, of course I did know
Okay,
about Clutch.
yeah, yeah.
But I wanted to see Manson because I had seen Manson at Limelight before that, and he put on a fantastic show. And I like Clutch. I thought, that's a weird bill. Clutch and Manson? That's an
Yeah,
odd
it
bill.
doesn't. Yeah, when
But I
think
figured,
back.
you know, for a whopping $15,
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I'll go.
Yeah.
And Clutch was fantastic. That's what really drew me in.
And that was, so which album was that?
That was the space record.
Okay.
Or the self-titled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of us fans call it the space record because it's just got
Yeah.
space on the cover. It's a moon.
And I don't know if you would remember this specifically, but there's a good chance that some of this material was performed at that show because they're notorious for like testing out. And right after the self-titled record, they started to get into a jammy phase where, like, for a section of the show, they would just start playing a groove and just jam on it.
Right.
You know, and some of the material from this record was in those jams from when I saw them.
I feel like, yeah, one of those might be coming up here.
Well, didn't they also start the Bakerton group?
The
other-
Bakerton group, yeah, I'm trying to think when that actually began. It was somewhere in this period.
Around
where
there,
they,
yeah,
They
around
wanted
here.
to stretch their wings a little bit writing-wise and
Right.
not, necessarily have to have lyrics to everything. But
Right.
yeah, it was sometime after Elephant Riders that started happening too.
Cool.
Okay. Next track, we have Wishbone. All right, Mark.
Now,
tell me what you think.
this one, I love this one.
Okay.
Like, he's talking all about food that they eat at the holidays. Again,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
thinking balls. You're a heavy band.
Yeah.
You're writing this foot-stomping music. And this, to me, It sounds like Jethro or something. Doesn't it sound to me? It sounds like if there was a white trash version of Sanford and Son. You could
Yeah.
yeah. And he's talking all about corned beef stew, egg salad,
Sandwich.
It's just so goofy.
Right.
But yeah, I love it. I love this riff in particular.
It's great. You talk about making a heavy song about the holidays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Clutch did it.
Exactly.
And nobody else can ever do it again. You know,
Right,
I mean,
right.
maybe Spinal Tap. You know,
Yeah.
with Christmas. You know, Christmas with the devil. But Clutch covered it. They covered every single holiday in this one song.
Yeah.
They talk
Yeah.
about even St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, right,
For
right.
crying out loud. So, you know, bone to the dogs, then went to bed. On the losing end of a wishbone.
Yeah, like,
When you were a kid, that was the only time that ever mattered to you.
Yeah.
Around Thanksgiving. Like, man, my wish ain't gonna come true. You get older now, and you're like, don't
Yeah.
put that thing anywhere near me.
Yeah. And then, of course, the little B section comes in here, and it, you know, in the morning when the cock was heard.
yeah, what is that?
Asking what we
he
had learned.
of the earth, or whatever.
I mean,
It is a round place.
Deserts and oceans.
like I go to religious stuff, like you know, before the cock crows.
Right,
You know,
right, yeah.
Peter, you'll deny me 3 times. Like,
yeah,
That's not Sferatu.
doesn't it also appear in the gospel?
Does it?
Does it?
I don't know.
It might. Neil Fallon, I believe, has
Yeah.
mentioned using them, and you've said
The
it
Bible,
too. The
yeah.
Bible is
Biblical
if you
references,
open
right.
any page, you're like, oh, that's dark.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't get into biblical
No,
discussion
no,
right now.
no.
Yeah,
But no, Fallon does take his influences are vast.
Legion.
It's true. I mean, he takes from Greek mythology. He takes from Catholicism. He takes from every book that he's ever read.
Yeah.
For crying out loud, every little thing that he's absorbed, he puts it into his lyrics and makes these clever, great, fun stories. And never preaches really at you. He comes off live as, you know, a preacher, but he's preaching to the rock gospel. You know, he's
Yeah.
preaching the rock gospel.
Yep.
He doesn't come across as cocky or anything like that. He's just saying, hey, man, I'm having fun with this. I want you to have fun with it with me. Let's all get together and let's just fucking groove,
Yeah.
you know?
Absolutely.
So,
Cool. Okay, next up, Cracker Jack. So, Mark, you were talking about certain songs coming out of extended jams.
Yeah.
Could this be one of them? 'Cause it kind of sounds like one of them.
Yeah. This is just a jam. This is very much like the type of minus the trombone. They never
Yeah.
had a trombone live. And this is one
like
of the
some Fishbone
Marsalises
going on.
playing that. It's
Oh, really?
Delfeo Marsalis, which
Huh.
is like I don't know who the hell he is honestly, but he's one.
But
from
he's one of that
lineage
family or something?
Yeah,
Okay, all right.
yeah. They brought him in. I'm not quite sure. It's kind of interesting to me that you would choose a trombone as the
as opposed to
the
maybe
melody.
a saxophone
Yeah,
or
a sax
something,
or a trumpet or just.
Right.
It's an interesting choice. And yeah, this is basically like the type of thing they would do at a live show where they just break into this kind of groove.
It puts me in such a Fishbone place.
Fishbone.
You
Because
know?
of the trombone?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Trombone,
and
right,
also
yeah,
just like
yeah,
a
yeah.
funky and
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
and honestly, when they call Clutch stoner rock, this is what they're talking about. I think.
Right,
It's
right.
definitely got that sort of.
Right,
You
right.
know, thing
Yeah, I
going
can
on.
see, you know, I mean, I remember when I first bought the record, the same thing. The first time you're hearing it, I'm blazing. So
Oh,
you
imagine
get to
that.
this track, and you're like, what? I don't know. All right, cool, man.
yeah.
You want to
Yeah.
get some horns in there? All right.
And it goes on for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's a long track,
Yeah.
yeah. And just listen to this guitar. Oh,
Yeah.
it's about to disappear.
Yeah, no,
Never mind.
let's no. Tell me, talk.
So heavy music, and I'm going to do my best to not turn this into what I want to do, which is to talk to you for an hour about this very
Why
concept. I'm going to keep this brief, but rock guitar was born by someone taking an amp and turning it up louder than it was meant to go, and it starts to distort, and it sounds really mean when that happens, just naturally. But then people complained and said, well, I can't always be that loud. So they designed ways to recreate the sound of a loud amp quieter, and that is what dominates most rock music. Is they make the distortion in the preamp of the amp rather than the power tubes overdriving. It's basically what's happening. Tim Salt is using an Orange OR80, I believe, from the 70s.
Man, Scott.
And his other one is a
Nice.
Marshall JTM 45, which is a direct descendant of the 1959 Fender Bassman, which is what created rock and roll amplifiers. And basically, the only way to make it sound like rock is to turn it up all the way. And it's still, as you can hear, it doesn't sound like fuzzed out. It doesn't sound like 80s,
Right.
you know.
No trickery.
No trickery, and it's the old school way.
Yeah.
So it's another way that Clutch is standing out there. Like, yeah, we were doing hardcore an album ago, and now, like, I'm doing it like I'm Jefferson Airplane or something.
Yeah,
You know,
right,
just getting
right.
an old amp and turning it up all the way.
They really embrace that side of themselves
Yes,
from
yes.
this record on.
And to have them have that kind of guitar sound, but still with the aggressive vocals and everything,
Yeah.
it created what Clutch. It was the first step in their evolution towards, you know, saying we're not just another kind of fuzzed out metal band.
Right,
you know,
right.
Taking that approach with the guitar.
We're not just stoner rock.
Yeah.
We can actually
Yeah,
play.
most stoner rock is all about fuzz pedals
Yeah. Right.
and just super fuzzed out stuff. They're like, no, I want you to hear the notes. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. They became such a great band over time and quickly,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, from, like I said before, Transnational to this alone, in the span of 3 albums,
Yeah.
huge jump. Huge. For me as a fan, I just kept absorbing it, wanting to listen to more. And now with the last release with Psychic Warfare, I'm like, really? You guys can't possibly get any better. Can you?
I know, especially the last 2 records. Like they came back strong. When Earth Rocker came out, I was like, oh my god,
Right,
these guys aren't
right.
done yet. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Next up, Dragonfly.
So you got this guitar happening.
Yeah.
Go with me on this. Tell me, to me, I can just picture Neil Fallon listening to them jamming this and saying, "Oh, I can picture like a bug flying around,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it
That
goes
is-
his wheels
Yeah,
turning."
yeah.
That's a fluttering wing.
Yeah,
Yeah, like over
yeah,
the
that's exactly what it
over
is.
the water. You can
Yeah.
see, you know,
Yeah.
Dragonfly, you know.
Yeah.
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 This is one of their best songs ever, in my opinion, too. Just because the lyrics are great and the music's great, and again, redefining heavy. Neil Fallon says in an interview at some point, he's like, "What could be heavier than nature?"
Right, right.
So he writes
right.
this song just
That's
about
cool.
bugs
Yeah.
flying around and stuff. And I don't want to jump to the end of the song, but I have to just mention it's the heaviest thing on the record, you could argue, in some ways, and it has a very Sabbathy kind of sound on the Rite of Spring part.
Right.
And the very last lyric, he says, "And then there is silence and the smell of flowers." And it goes into this. It's like, that is the heaviest shit ever.
He makes
And it
flowers
shouldn't be.
sound
Yeah,
so
flowers
heavy.
are heavy
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
No, it's
Seriously?
awesome. But
Yeah.
I really think this is where they were really embracing their classic rock influences,
Yeah.
like Mountain,
Mountain, yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
it just it's huge.
Yeah.
And the production is great,
Yeah.
but it's not overdone.
Right.
Yeah.
That's so Sabbath right
Yep.
there.
Right. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, and John Paul Gaster just laying it down.
Yeah.
Oh.
Great underrated drummer, in my opinion, in rock
Yeah,
and roll.
yeah.
The entire band. I mean, and they've been together for so long.
Yeah.
The same
And that's
four
the
of them.
thing, they all developed on their instruments together in such a way that, you know, you build a chemistry that's hard to replicate when,
Right.
like, you take like something like Steely Dan where you just get all the best players. It'll never have the same kind of intuitive sound that you get when the same guys play together.
Yeah, me and a couple of other friends talk about the same thing. You can tell when a band is a band and they've been together for a long time that it's a band effort. And Clutch is one of those bands. It's like Clutch, Corrosion. There are a couple of different bands like that. That it is them. And they all pull together and they make the best music that they can possibly make at the time together.
And they seem to have a mission statement as a band of total freedom. Take your muse wherever it wants to go, and we'll work it into Clutch. Neil
Right.
Fallon doing all these weird lyrics. Jean-Paul Gaster got big into jazz, and they managed to bring it in, in later records, and certainly with the Bakerton group, in ways where it didn't sound. Sometimes you hear, fusion to me is possibly the worst musical form that there is. Like when you try and combine jazz and rock, it's usually one side wins out too much, and it's usually the jazz, which is why it sucks. But with Clutch, it's almost like there are elements of fusion, but the rock is always in charge. So you take a swinging beat with these big, massive drums that he uses,
Right.
and then take a vintage amp turned up all the way, and to me, it's so fucking heavy.
Yeah, yeah. It's a good amalgamation.
Yeah.
You know, where normally we don't venture too much into jazz. and that's why we're doing rock and metal podcast.
Yeah.
We'll do a jazz podcast that will last for one episode, maybe.
Right.
But
Jazz. It was a thing that happened. Bye.
Yeah.
good night.
Miles Davis. Listen to him.
Yeah,
That's it.
I'm
check it
done.
out.
That's pretty much it.
We're gonna play that song from the Peanuts. It's pretty good.
Schroeder.
And once again, Dragonfly 7/4, so they're starting where they
yeah.
began in 7.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so Mark, talk about the hidden track. a little
Don't
bit.
press pause just yet. Let me just make a general. Oh no, keep that rolling, Walt. I'm sorry. How stupid is this hidden track thing? Like, why must we do
This
this?
is the 90s.
I
They
know,
do
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me nuts. But yeah, that being said, they had 3 different songs, and depending on which disc you got, you have no way of knowing which one was on there.
Yeah.
I feel like you won the lottery because of the 3, this one is my favorite, 05.
05.
And it's called that because of the time signature. Again, it's in 5. So
Yeah.
talk about placeholder title. It's like, and the song to me has this sinister quality and the weird banjo stuff, which we're going to hear. It's like, you couldn't make a new title for it, right? I mean,
So was this a cheap grab to make you, buy the album repeatedly?
well,
or
that-
what do you know what I mean?
You can't help
Like,
but, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
what? So I'm going to just keep buying them until I get all
Like
3,
hoping, yeah.
Right.
and just put them on eBay if I already have that
The
one.
only release that had all 3 was a Japanese release.
Okay, it was like an import or something. It was hard to find.
and you got to find that.
Yeah.
And of course, a record store back then in the 90s, they would charge you up the wazoo
Oh, yeah.
to just get that Japanese release with all 3 hidden tracks.
Yep.
So fuck that noise. You wind up with the American release that I got,
Yeah.
and you get 05.
Yeah.
I think, Mark, you have...
Mine's got David Rose.
David
on it,
Rose,
yeah.
right.
Actually, my CD has David Rose. The vinyl, I got lucky too. I got 05, which I was happy about.
Yeah.
Okay, so Walt, we're on your copy, so we're doing 05 now,
05,
right?
yes.
Okay, here we go. Let's hear it.
I was told a story while I warned them of the sky. I don't know what that means, but it sounds kind of scary.
Biblical. It's
Yeah.
like it's prophetic. Book of
Yeah.
Revelations.
Oh, actually, no. This title does make sense because he says the winter of '05 left with 2 score and
right.
5 lives, so it's about a year.
Right.
Yeah.
Damn, you would think that we never heard the record before, for crying out loud, But sometimes you do get annoyed at ghost tracks because you got to wait.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
wait like another 12 minutes to get to a song,
Yeah.
And so many bands in the 90s did this where I thought it was annoying after a while. It was cool that you got an extra track, but after a while, I remember having records for a long time and not hearing ghost tracks like this one.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine would say, hey, there's a ghost track on it. I'm like, what, really?
Yeah.
You just got to wait 24 hours to get to it, but, it is there.
And that was a new thing with CDs. Like,
Yeah, right.
you couldn't really pull that off on an LP.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
CDs, they still had a little bit of room,
Yeah.
and so,
Yeah, absolutely. And this song is in 5, this section.
right.
Okay.
1,
yeah.
2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2.
Kind of going back, like you said, to transnational a little bit. Following the banjo.
Oh, yeah.
I like the banjo a lot.
Yeah, I like that
Yeah, it's
too.
cool.
Yeah,
Fuck
that's
yeah.
a great track.
Yeah.
I like that one.
Only a few bands, rock bands, heavy rock bands, can pull off a banjo and not upset the fans.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's
That's the key part,
fucking
not
clutch.
upset the fans. Yeah.
Yeah, because basically it's like someone grabbed a banjo and just started playing a riff on it. They're not like doing flattened scrugs or anything. It's like, hey, why not?
All right, let's talk about the album cover now. What do you gentlemen think? We've
I
got
think it's
elephants.
great.
Yeah.
It was the advent of Photoshop, obviously.
It's kind of photoshoppy.
It's
yeah.
very Photoshoppy.
Yeah.
But it's still very cool because I love the guy riding the elephant that's in front with a clutch banner.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
clutch flag. And
Yeah.
I love the font, too. It looks like those fake photos that you get. It's,
Right.
at old Colonial Williamsburg, and you, like, get in these corny photos. It just looks kind of...
Yeah, it's very much of that, yeah. I still dig it. And
Yeah.
I think they really took a chance not having their logo so prevalent on the album cover.
Yeah.
It's on this flag, this banner, instead of, being right across the top. What do you think?
I mean, I like the concept. I mean, obviously, War Elephant is ultimately badass, and it's
Right.
great to have during the Civil War. I just don't think I like this take on it so much.
Okay.
Like I keep I don't know. I mean, it is a little Photoshoppy.
Very Photoshop.
Maybe I want to see an airship in the background or just some.
Okay.
I don't know.
All right.
I
Airships dropping raccoons,
or maybe
something,
like
or...
something like imitating a Civil War sepia toned.
Oh, all right. I get
I'm
you.
overthinking it. Obviously, they weren't going to do
well,
that.
Turn around. There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
There's
So
your sepia.
you've got that in the back, and maybe something more like that.
Right.
Because like I want to like it because I
Yeah.
do like the concept. Yeah.
Well, open it up.
yeah. What we got here?
That's even worse.
That's
That's
bad.
even
That's
worse.
horrible.
You know,
Yeah,
very, very bad Photoshop.
Yeah,
Poor
no,
form.
that's not good.
Poor form. You know, very shitty.
Yeah.
Very shitty when it comes to
Yeah.
that. You know, holy crap. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Okay, we got
Really?
a CD malfunction here.
Wow.
Right?
That's
It's,
holding on tight.
We're
I know. Really?
That's what
Holy
she said.
crap.
Those little tabs.
Alright,
You need
finally.
those? Yeah.
Oof.
All right,
Gotta lose.
that was good.
With the lyrics, this is
Yeah,
fun.
That
the
is actually
fonts.
cool. Yeah, no, I like
With
that.
the fonts, it's
Yeah.
great. You know,
That's pretty awesome.
a lot of different fonts.
Yeah.
A lot of fun. You know, and then you get this crazy photo on the inside of the band.
Yeah,
Yeah, and then
well,
that's for real. That's them
Yeah.
in their rehearsal
is-
room.
yeah.
Just like-
Yeah.
And I love that Neil Fallon's smiling too. Again,
once.
both of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I like that they're saying "f you" to all this macho shit. We're heavy
Yeah,
as
no, I
fuck,
like that,
and
yeah.
we're gonna smile. You
And
know?
he's actually clean shaven.
Yeah, I know. Which
Yeah.
he's known
Yeah.
for having a big beard. Which he these days he's got the beard again. But
He wrote a song
occasionally
about
you
it.
see him. Yeah, right.
The burning beard.
Right.
all right, now it's time for the segment that I call "Gun to the Head."
Gun to the head!
Mark, you first. "Gun to the Head." What is your top song on this album?
All right, top song in this album. It comes down to three for me: the title cut, Elephant Riders, the Soap Makers, and the Dragonfly.
Okay.
And ultimately, if I got to pick one, I'm going to pick Elephant Riders, just
Okay.
because when that riff kicked in, I got tingles up my spine the first time I heard it.
Yeah.
It just resonated with me, that 7/8 riff, and the fact that Neil Fallon came in singing the way that he did, because prior to this, on the Space record, he's primarily shouting in a very distinctive way where he's coming at you like, everything gonna be all right.
Yeah.
You know, he's like
Right.
taking your head off. It's real aggressive. So he comes in with, I'll keep pulling on the tope.
Yeah.
Keep floating on the river. I was like, I love this. They're branching out. Yeah, so I got to go with that one, although it's a toss-up. Soap Makers and Dragonfly, to me, are also
Okay.
the masterworks of this record, in my opinion.
Good. Well,
It's very tough for me. I never do well during this segment.
I've noticed.
I never prepare. You know what? I'm going to be the odd man out and say Muchas Veces.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm going to say Muchas Veces. Just because they took a real chance. It sticks out like a sore thumb on this album. And I love the storytelling that Fallon does on it. And it's groovy as hell.
Yeah.
So I dig that song.
Okay.
So that would be my top, maybe.
Okay. For me, it's "Ship of Gold."
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It just every time I listen to the album, like that one really grabs me.
It's grandiose.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got a big...
I always go for those.
Yeah,
I don't know.
you-
You've noticed that, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I see yourself on a... Yeah, no,
it's my-
it's very grandiose.
I have a grand soul. That's what it is. Okay, so now gun to the head the other way. Mark, what would you say if you had to lose one song off this album? Which would you pick?
Yeah, this is always tough, you know, especially
It
when,
should
for
be
me,
tough.
yeah, it is
Yeah.
tough because I'm going to look at this again. I mean...
That's why we put a gun to your head.
Yeah, with the gun to my head, can I choose just you shoot me? Would that be...
We've never had anybody...
yeah.
Actually,
I take the
you know,
bullet.
all right, bang, bang.
No, I guess I would lose the Cracker Jack only because I can go see him live and see him jam. You know?
Okay.
Although I do like its inclusion here, how it breaks up. It sort of sets the table for the Dragonfly to swoop in. And so I hate to cut it, but
Yeah.
it would be that, or it would be Green Buckets probably. But I'll stick with Cracker Jack. Why not?
All right. Well,
I concur with Mark. I would lose Cracker,
Cracker Jack? Okay.
I would lose
Oh,
Cracker Jack.
okay, that's a good one. Yeah.
Just because, like Mark said, you can see them do that live. I don't necessarily need to hear it on the album if I had to lose one.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, I can't see the album without that song, listening to it.
Yeah.
But since you got a gun to my head,
Yeah.
I'm losing that one.
Okay.
You?
For me, it's Wishbone.
Really?
All that stuff about food. I don't know. It's
And the
Okay,
holidays and what?
one,
Come on, really?
one thing, like I really, really like what I'll call the first side of this album. The
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
more
yeah,
like
yeah.
period piece kind of stuff.
Right, right.
And then the other stuff, it's more it's so contemporary, like in Green Buckets.
Right.
and Wishbone that it's kind of jarring for me.
See, we think in those
Yeah.
terms when we've done these podcasts before.
Yeah.
For me, Muchas Veces is track 1 on side 2.
Yeah, exactly. No, I
You know
go
what
with
I mean?
that. I go with that. Yeah, totally.
So
yeah.
so I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Side 1 is
Yeah.
very period piece.
And I like that side better.
Than
honestly,
the
yeah,
rest of
yeah.
the tracks,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't
do
know.
too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
yeah.
agree with that.
But,
Yeah, I like
yeah,
the
that's
first
gonna be
side
mine.
better. I really like how they close it out with Dragonfly, though. They saved
Oh,
a
yeah,
good
no,
one
that's
for the
huge.
end.
It's
Dragonfly is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually the end with the little jingle bell thing
Right.
almost sounds like crickets in the backyard or something. I think they were going for a sound there, too. Like if you're growing up in the suburbs, you lay down on a summer night to go to sleep, and you can just hear crickets going like, wee, 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 wee. And I feel like they were maybe trying to capture that with that. There's feedback and the sound of these like sleigh bells almost. I feel like they were trying to capture a bug vibe there
I get
too.
you. I get you. Yeah, see, we live in the city, so we go to sleep to sirens.
Yeah.
right.
You know? Cops.
Neighbors
you know,
yelling at each other.
People being shot.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so I think we're coming to the overall assessment of this album.
Yeah,
We like this
okay.
album, obviously.
Obviously.
But give me some closing thoughts, Walt.
I like it because Clutch took another step in a different direction that I didn't expect from the band when it came out. And I think it's anti-seminal because so many people might have Blast Tyrant or Space Record or albums after Blast Tyrant. But I think they should delve a little bit deeper because they did something that they were going to work on future efforts.
Yeah.
This is kind of the beginning of what they did moving forward.
Okay.
This is kind of where they really put their foot down and kind of said, we can do whatever we want. Like Mark said earlier, you know, we can be whatever kind of band we want to be. And I think that's expressed on this album.
Yeah, okay.
So for me, that's why I call it anti-seminal, but seminal in a sense that you should go back to it if you are a Clutch fan.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Mark, what do you think?
I could say personally, for me, this is the ultimate seminal Clutch record, but for reasons I've already said. Like I
Yeah.
was just getting out of college, and I was on the edge of my seat waiting for it to come out, and it lived up to the hype. And I'm seeing them live every 6 months at that point, so I'm hearing bits and pieces of the new material. I was ready for this to come out, starting with Blast Tyrant, which was produced by this guy from New Jersey who calls himself Machine. And don't even get me started about people who don't use their name who come up with a handle. That kind of drives me nuts. But anyway, Machine brought a real kind of contemporary and tight sound to Clutch, which I appreciate greatly, and I think that is a kick-ass album. So I'm not saying anything bad about Machine or his production style.
Yeah.
But I think the younger fan discovering Clutch now, they would relate a lot more to that record and to the last two that were also done by Machine. The Psychic Warfare and Earthrocker, that have a more contemporary, more compressed, more in-your-face sound to kind of stay with the demands of the market.
Yeah.
You go back to this record, and it was a truer representation of what Clutch sounded like live, which
Okay.
was, and the same distinction that I discussed earlier with guitar tones, it stood out like a sore thumb when you saw Clutch live. Which I did many times back in these days. They'd be playing with bands like System of a Down. I saw them with a number of times. I saw them with Dillinger Escape Plan, which is a friggin' mess of a band.
Stinky.
They're incredible in what they do. I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, right,
of it.
right.
But in any case, all these other bands, they had real, like the drums tuned as low as they would go and with no resonance, so it would just be like a real like low slap on the bass drum. The guitar's real fuzzy, and then Clutch comes out and sounds like they're straight out of 1970. Like,
Right, which, yeah.
Jean-Paul
right,
Gaster
yeah.
has a 26 by 18-inch GMS bass drum in these days. It doesn't have a pillow or a blanket in it. It's got a solid front head. Usually you cut a hole in the head
Right.
because it cuts down on the sustain. So he hits this drum, and it sounds like a giant basketball bouncing. They sounded unlike anyone else, and they stood out.
Yeah.
And they wiped the floor, in my opinion, with those other bands that were doing heavy the traditional way, partially just because they had that advantage of just sounding so different but still being super heavy.
Right.
And you got Neil Fallon on top of that. So ultimately, I love the record. I mean, that's not
I do too.
a
And just
mystery to anyone.
talking about seeing Clutch last year and the Sword opened for them. I was
I've seen
really
that bill,
looking
too.
forward to seeing the Sword.
Yeah.
Because I had never seen them live before. I hate to say it, but Clutch blew them off the stage. You know, I mean, they just took over. No disrespect to the Sword.
Yeah.
I love their records. But Clutch came out and just owned. You forgot that you saw the Sword. For me, I forgot I saw them. He was like, oh, who was the opening band again?
Oh yeah.
Right. And Clutch just came out and fucking killed it. So, but yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, once again, this album opens up a whole new aspect of Clutch. For
Okay.
me.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
and you?
Cool. I think you guys have said it best. It's a bold statement by an iconic band. That's all I got.
So
Excellent.
I gotta know.
Yeah.
This is C. So what's D for you guys? What's next?
Well, we're still going to be doing C. This is our first C band.
Yeah.
So
This is
next we're
Clutch.
going to do Corrosion and Conformity, right? Well,
Corrosion and
okay,
Conformity.
We'll be up for that.
Yeah.
So, but Mark, what I want to hear from you, because
Yeah.
I think this has been great.
Sure.
We've really been happy having you on. I think the listeners are really going to love the stuff that you did with this album. That's a siren. That's unpleasant.
Whoa, yeah,
We're getting arrested.
yeah. I felt that in my ass. Sorry.
Easy. Okay. All right.
It ain't that kind of party
All right.
yet.
We're cutting this right
That's
now.
all right.
Okay.
You
Okay.
gotta-
All right.
yeah,
So,
you can
what
edit.
I was going to ask you before
Yeah.
that happened,
Sorry.
Mark,
Ask you? Ask you?
easy. God, you get 3 of these guys in a room. They're shit. Okay. Mark, can we goad you to come back and do another one of these with us at some point for some band?
I would love to do that.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
Mark, we're going to have. I don't know when it's going to happen, but we're going to have you back at some point, and I
That
think our
sounds
listeners
great.
are going to look forward to that. All right, so let's close this up. We are Useless Info Inc. doing Anti-Seminal, the ABCs of rock and metal. You can catch us on where are we? WordPress, YouTube, the Twitters. We're getting all over the place.
All
We're
over
getting,
the
we're
place.
getting all in your face right now. Yeah. So
There's a
come
joke
back.
in there, too. There's a joke in there,
That's
too. I don't know.
cut, Mike. Cut right now. All right, see you, everybody. Bye.
Take care.
See
Rock
you
and
later.
roll.